My sisters and brothers, I greet you all with the love and peace of the Lord. I invite you to meditate together with me on the holy word of God of 13th September 2020, the 24th Sunday. The focus of our reflection: to live is to love is to give, and to give is to forgive. One who does not forgive does not know how to give and will not himself receive forgiveness. If my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive? This is the question of Peter to Jesus in the Gospel. And the same question is quite valid and relevant even now, much more than before. It is because we are living through times which are so low in the spirit of forgiveness. Instead, there is so much spirit of anger and impatience, grudge and resentment, revenge and retaliation, vengeance, aggression and violence. All the more, what is sad and disturbing is that forbearance, forgiveness, and reconciliation are considered as weaknesses, and fury and retaliation are glorified as signs of manliness and courage, and as safeguards and expressions of self respect and self dignity. This spirit is rampant at every level and aspect of life, be it between individuals, within the families, between regions, between languages, religions, cultures, and countries. It is in this context the Word of God very clearly denounces anger and lack of forgiveness, and also strongly cautions against the evil effects of failure to forgive. Anger and unforgiveness are abominable and detestable in the sight of God, and they fail to obtain the mercy and forgiveness of God. Those who refuse to forgive others will stand in the danger of God's judgment and condemnation. An unforgiving heart will lose all its appeal for God's mercy. It is a contradiction to seek forgiveness from God while not forgiving others. It is nothing but duplicity of faith, applying double standards, one for oneself and the other for the other. In this context, it is worthwhile to recall the wise words of Saint Francis de Sales. We are eager to accuse others even for the slightest mistake, while we are eager to excuse ourselves even for the greatest blunder. We clamor for justice in the neighbor's house while we plead for mercy in our own house. We want to buy cheap but want to sell dear. The refusal to forgive is, in fact, not a simple thing as it may appear to be. It shows the failure of the person on different counts, such as the emotional, psychological, relational, or interpersonal, ethical, and spiritual. It clearly shows that a person is not able to control and overcome one's negative emotions, not able to cultivate and nurture a sober and serene interior, not able to sustain an adequate equilibrium and maturity, not able to humble his inflated ego and pride, not able to maintain a healthy and cordial relationship, and not able to be morally sane and sound, and not able to connect his faith and spirituality to a concrete life of charity and integrity. For any believer, unforgiveness and grudge are contradictions to his very religious spirit, whatever be the religion, because no religion or God will advocate violence and harm against others. No true religion can instigate one against fraternity and charity. If one takes to retaliation and violence in the name of religion and God, he has not really understood his religion, and he is a false religious person. It is so sad and even a disgrace that the so-called faithful adherents of religion or religious life can live and foster a spirit and ambience of so much resentment and animosity in the ambits of their respective places of worship or communities. When will the realization dawn on the humans that unforgiveness is a heavy weight, and as long as one carries it, he is only pressed down? When will people realize that it is foolish and inhuman to nurture a spirit of hostility and revenge? When will the believers allow the insight that refusal to forgive ruins one's own self as well as others? When will the religious communities become the abodes of a little more pardon and reconciliation, and thus avoid the mockery of their very consecration and the scandal against their very faith? Now the direction and the directive for our life. In true forgiveness, there is no question of how many times should I forgive, because any true forgiveness is prompted and driven by authentic love, and true love is always without measure. Therefore, let us especially pray for this grace of the realization and the actualization of the truth that living is for giving, and forgiving is a noble way of giving.